morning, yes.
So we have the Kasabo is today. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Kasabo.
Yes, you did.
Right.
So,
So tell us a little bit about
yeah,
that.
sure. First of all, CASABO is the acronym for Conference of Shop Stewards and Branch Officers. That's what it means. And it is a tool that has been used for quite a number of years when the leadership of the union is using a space and a forum whereby our second rank officers, shop stewards, and the branch officers can discuss freely and openly strategies in order to respond to a particular issue or to a national situation. In this instance, the Joint Trade Union Movement called this National Kasabo because it was felt at the Leadership Council that the continued implementation of neoliberal policies in Trinidad and Tobago is having such a negative effect on workers and the country in general. It was necessary to have a conference of shop stewards and branch officers so that at least our second rank officers can discuss openly, freely, strategies and tactics in terms of how do we respond to it. Now, the theme for this particular Kasabo is the role of trade unions in the era of globalization. Now, to give it some quick current context, coming with globalization, what we've seen is an aggressive implementation of neoliberal policy. These policies, which include things like privatization, mass retrenchment of workers, literally reduction in social programs, of budgetary allocation for social programs, etc. These policies affect the poor, the vulnerable, and ordinary working people. What we have seen over the last few years is an aggressive implementation of neoliberal policies right here in Trinidad and Tobago. And it has cost the jobs of thousands of workers. It has, in effect, reduced your actual purchasing power when you consider inflation, when you consider the increase in fuel, the removal of fuel subsidies and therefore the increase in fuel costs, etc., which has driven increased cost of rent, increased cost in food, etc. When we consider all of these things as part of a package of policies implemented on the, Trinidad and Tobago, it will be felt it necessary at this point to bring in our second rank officers, shop stewards, to discuss how do trade unions respond to that. And going even deeper, what I expect coming out of the discussion this morning is how is the state being used to do that?
Yeah.
So that is part of the discussions that will be taking place this morning at this National Conference of Shop Stewards and Branch Officers called by the Joint Trade Union Movement. And
this will be held where exactly?
This is currently being held at OWTU's headquarters, Paramount Building, this morning from about 9 to 12.
You have an interesting theme there, the role of trade unions in the era of globalization. And we all know how important globalization is for the economy. In your opinion, how critical is it for trade unions?
Sorry,
How important or how critical is globalization for trade unions?
Right. It is very critical, especially when you consider that the current pace of globalization is
very
increasing.
Rapid.
But more importantly, the fact that now globalization is being used to push the neoliberal agenda. And that is having a very negative effect on trade unions because one of the key policy positions of neoliberalism is reduction of the influence of trade unions, or rather the decrease of number of workers who are unionized. Because in their worldview, workers' rights they're not human rights, and therefore an employer should be allowed to treat with its workers however they wish. That is the neoliberal worldview. And in order to do that, what they need is to strip away the influence of trade unions. So how do then trade unions respond to a situation where the state apparatus is being used by the elite class in order to aggressively advance neoliberal policies that will in effect strip away workers' rights? But and this is key. the state is being used to do that. So how do trade unions, what is the role of a trade union in that context? And that is what we will be discussing.
And do you have any like guest speakers, or what is the program like?
The program of the Conference of Shop Stewards and Branch Officers is an open discussion, meaning the chair of the CASABO will first give a little context. One or two leaders will further speak to the topic, and then it's a completely open, deliberative process, whereby the floor itself is what is driving the conference. So that's how it is. That is the methodology. It's very participatory.
And do you expect a huge turnout today?
Well, it's mainly second-rank officers, so it's not an open membership meeting.
Okay.
So it depends on the number of branch officers that a particular trade union would have. But we do expect a full turnout of these branch officers and shop stewards. We do expect that, yes.
And I know you've been down this morning.
Yes. At the moment, registration is taking place, and we're actually supposed to be starting in 5 minutes. But yes, registration is taking place as you speak.
And your role in all of this is, how critical is it for you? And your involvement in it?
Well, in terms of coordinating and the pulling together, well, it's work that I enjoy and I love very much. So I really look forward to a very successful CASABO this morning.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Mr. Warwick. I know I won't keep you long because I know you have to go back to the CASABO there.
Yes, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share the fact that we are having this very critical conference of shop stewards and branch officers.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and good luck.
Okay. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Very interesting there indeed. I actually never knew about CASABO until recently. So this year's CASABO, the theme is the role of trade unions in the era of globalization. And as you would have heard from Mr. Ozzi Warwick just now, the venue is the OWTU headquarters, and it's supposed to be starting in 5 minutes, but it was actually supposed to start at 8 a.m. So this is PSA TV. It's just about news time. So we're going to head to news and come back. Stay with us.